This show contains movie spoilers and swearing. Oh man. Right. That's completely thrown me off. Sorry, what film are we talking about? Is it The Rocketeer?
Winter Soldier. Oh,
yeah. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bitesize Cinema. I'm your host RJ McCready, and for this episode I'm going to be taking you guys back to a year in 2014 to look at the Marvel Universe, which is going to be Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And joining me for the show today, I've got two very special guests. First guest is Gary Hill from Cinema Beef Podcast. Gary, how you doing, buddy?
Well, after that trip to outer space, man, my head kind of hurts, but I woke up and I said, Gary Shandling? Really? Come on, brother. But yeah, I'm here, man. I'm a little bewildered about this whole government conspiracy stuff, but here we are.
So, Gary, being in outer space could be like Buck Rogers or something like that, are you? Coming back after 500 years.
See, now I'm on the podcast with an awkward boner. I'm thinking about Aaron Gray now, so you know.
Well,
that purple suit, man.
Well, this is it, mate. You know, hopefully being in, Frosted or whatever it is, that something might have fallen out for you as well. With Aaron Gray, I'm sure that'll happen.
Oh, it'll put the thaw mode on real fast with that woman. She's still hot today, so there you go.
She is stunning. She is stunning. And also joining me for the show today is Derek Bourgeois, another fellow podcaster. Derek, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, watching that hot steamy kiss between Captain America and Black Widow on that escalator. Ooh, yeah. Got my boil.
I knew we were going to get there. I didn't realise we were going to get there that fast, Derek. But yeah, let's bring this into it. Yeah, that's right. Black Widow. But no, you guys can have Black Widow. I'm quite happy with, Kobe Smulders in this movie.
Oh, yeah, she's got tight leather, too. I know your style is.
I prefer her in a denim outfit singing Let's Go to the Mall any day of the week, man, That's a How I Met Your Mother reference, if you guys don't know.
Yep, I know.
Friggin' Robin Sparkles, man, doing her thing.
But, I've got to say, I've got a little bit of a man crush on Captain America in this one. I think if I had Colt Sarfs on the show, man, I think he'd be agreeing with me with that one because he said there's nothing wrong with a man crush either. So I thought I'd just throw that one in there as well.
It is America's ass, RJ. So you're okay with that,
Oh, I'm glad you guys are alright with that. Just thought I'd put that one out there. Do you know what I mean? So, but before we get into Captain America, Gary, what have you been up to?
Oh, here and there, breaking next cash and checks, recording a show or two here and there in between. Just living life in the supposed lockdown era. I'm fine though.
Yeah, that's okay. Right. That's right. 2020, we're almost surviving it, guys. We can almost get in there with it. And Derek, how about yourself, mate? You been alright? Still surviving?
Man. Just been working, surviving in the game, just waiting to try to make it till the Fat Man comes out so I can watch it, because I just watched the trailer for that. I'm like, I need to see this movie Fat Man. So bad.
Oh, right, okay. I'm a little bit unfamiliar with that.
It's pretty much a movie about a kid who gets coal for Christmas from Santa Claus, and he hires a hitman to kill Santa.
Right, okay.
And Mel Gibson is Santa Claus.
Okay? Oh, the Mel Gibson Santa Claus, mate. Right, okay, yeah, I get that now. Yeah, that's it. Right. I do know what you're talking
hilarious.
About.
You got Walton Goggins in that movie too, which I feel could do no wrong ever. So I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next Nicolas Cage installment. I know he makes loads of movies, but the Wonderland movie I'm a little bit curious of. So
yeah,
that does look
good.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage fighting animatronic dolls or something. Yeah, I'm liking the sound of that actually.
Whoa, dolls, yo.
I leave the Nicolas Cage stuff for Dan Bone when he's on the episode. He does a wicked impression of Nicolas Cage. Oh man.
Oh boy.
Okay, so we're not talking about Nicolas Cage or animatronics or anything like that, but we're going to be talking about Winter Soldier today. So guys, let's get on that motorbike. Let's take on Hydra. Let's play you guys a trailer, and we'll see you soon.
Coming up on the drop zone, Cap.
You do anything fun Saturday night?
Well, all the guys in my barbershop quartet are dead, so no, not really.
You know, if you ask Kristen out from statistics, she'd probably say yes.
That's why I don't ask.
Too shy or too scared?
Too busy!
Was he wearing a parachute?
No. No, he wasn't. I joined S.H.I.E.L.D. to protect people.
Captain.
To build a better world sometimes means tearing the old one down.
And that makes enemies.
Are you ready for the world to see you as you really are? You look out the window. You know how the game works. Disorder, war. All it takes is one step.
We're gonna neutralize a lot of threats before they even happen.
Thought the punishment usually came after the crime.
S.H.I.E.L.D. takes the world as it is, not as we'd like it to be.
This isn't freedom. This is fear.
You need to keep both eyes open.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Your work has been a gift to mankind. You've shaped the century. And I need you to do it one more time.
Gear up. It's time.
And welcome back, guys. So the synopsis of this film is, as Steve Rogers struggles to embrace his role in the modern world, he teams up with fellow Avenger and S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, the Black Widow, to battle a new threat from history, an assassin known as the Winter Soldier. It's a PG-13, came out in 2014, it's got 7.7 on IMDb, and it was directed by the Russo brothers, and it kicks off Phase 2 in the Marvel Universe. So, Gary, I've posted this a couple of times on Facebook, and you've piped up and said, yeah, I like this movie, and you jumped on board today, because I was originally going to do this as a solo episode, but I've now got two fellow podcasters joining me for this show. So Gary, Winter Soldier man, why do you like this movie?
Well, you know, I like the espionage stuff I always have, and this is full of it, and you get some of the best Cap in this movie, some of the best fights with Cap in this movie, like one-on-one stuff, you know, and
yeah.
We'll talk about it later. There's a scene in an elevator that everybody shines on, which you should, because it's some great hand-to-hand combat, great stuff with him and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
This is probably in, if I had to guess, this, Thor Ragnarok, and an undisclosed third are probably my top 3 favorite Marvel films of all time.
Yeah, it's funny you bring in Ragnarok, because the first 2 Thor movies are okay, But when he got
they're kind of dull, you know. But when Taika takes over, it's amazing. You know?
Yeah, and then it's almost like what I've seen in the Marvel universe is you had the first 2 Thor movies, then you've had Iron Man, which kind of kicked it off. But then along came Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was almost like they just introduced a lot of humour, and it was almost like the 4 movies. I kind of get the impression they made Ragnarok based on the humour of the Guardians of the Galaxy and thought, oh, you know, this is fun. Let's inject that.
This is unrelated to this movie, of course, but the comedic timing of Chris Hemsworth is highly underrated because you see him doing the comedy stuff.
Yeah,
it's hilarious because he's good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that Ghostbusters film was garbage, but the points where he shows up are the real shining points for me.
I agree.
When he says that he's going to a kickball tournament and he's serious about that shit, I can't stop laughing.
Yeah.
Come on now, you know.
He's the best part of that Ghostbusters reboot at all. I don't even like the cameos in that movie because they're like, why? You know, like the whole movie is why. But then Chris Hemsworth actually shines in his performance.
Right.
I love that his character is wearing eyelidless glasses the whole time.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
He's supposed to be the bimbo. I love it. Come on now.
It's almost like he got let off the chains with Ragnarok, didn't he? And obviously, was it Endgame? He's hilarious in him when he finds his own. Was it Valhalla or something?
Thor?
Yeah.
Oh, Lebowski.
Yeah.
Thor. Yeah.
You know, it's just go and do your stuff, Chris. That's it. You know, we'll let you off the chains. But yeah, I think this film, going back to Captain America: Winter Soldier, I think it definitely has gone up a level from obviously the first Avenger film before this, which is the introduction that you need. But I think it's almost like when I watched this film, it's almost like I thought, man, the Russo brothers have created a film just for me. I know it sounds a little selfish, but I was watching this film, I thought, oh my god. You know, it's got espionage in it. It felt like I got some elements of Escape from New York in this as well, where you kind of got the anti-heroes and almost like Snake Plissken not trusting the government and all that sort of stuff. So it kind of had a little bit of a John Carpenter thing about it as well, which I know I always bring up on my show. And it's badass. It's very fast-paced. It's got a very witty script. And it's almost like the Marvel Universe is telling you it's going to introduce you to other characters as well, because you've also got a mention of Doctor Strange in this movie as well, just sort of blink and you miss. And it's kind of like it could almost be like a standalone Marvel movie as well, just based on the espionage. And also Captain America, he's fought the Nazis. He's ended up ditching himself into the ice, and then he's woken up to modern day times, and it's almost like he's dealing with an unknown enemy. You know, who do you trust, stuff like that.
I can't come down on the first movie because I love it probably just as much as this movie.
Yeah.
For different reasons. I mean, first of all, it was directed by Joe Johnston, who hasn't made a film I haven't liked. I mean, the Rocketeer, Jumanji. What else is there? October Sky, Jurassic Park 3, not so much, but it's there.
Yeah.
But, I don't mind Jurassic Park 3. I've just got to say that.
I don't think he did Pleasantville, but that's an interesting conversation to have. I had that conversation with Export about Pleasantville, but
I had no.
Yeah, the Rocket. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Gary, I didn't realise he directed The Rocketeer.
That makes sense because when you watch the first Captain America, I do get like Rocketeer vibes, especially with the outfits and shit.
Yeah, it's funny now you mention that. It's almost like I'm not going to be able to unsee that now when I watch it again. So,
I don't ever unsee the Rocketeer, and most of that's Jennifer Connelly and her Betty Page outfits in that movie. You know,
well,
and the dolphin.
You know, I reckon we could probably just do a whole podcast on her. You reckon? Gary?
just do it, man.
Just on her scene and career opportunities when she's riding the horse.
Yes. Just call the show Awkward Boners, the Jennifer Connelly episode, okay, you know?
Coming soon.
Don't tell Ricky Morgan that he'd been making that into a show. He'll be putting that on top of the other 10 shows he's already got going.
He'll make it into a "You Know It's Awesome" episode.
Awkward boner.
We love you, Rick.
Oh, we love Ricky Morgan, yeah. They'll always love to shout him out. Oh, man. I knew we'd be going on tangents with this. I've lost my thread now. Bringing in Jennifer Connelly into the episode, man. Well,
Jenny Agutter shows up in this movie too. So, but she's not as attractive as she once was. But she was naked a lot in things. So there's that.
Oh yeah.
She got her tits out in Logan's Run back in the 70s.
Oh yeah. In Walkabout, she's naked through the whole movie almost.
Yeah.
So it's the first outing by the Russo brothers, and they come back again, don't they, for Infinity War and Endgame.
Civil War 2 they did.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, Marvel, they've done a lot of good stuff for them, haven't they? You know, they've brought in the money, not only have they brought in the bucks, but they brought in some good entries to the, you know, Marvel universe.
Yeah, even looking at like their Avengers like movies that they did.
Yeah.
They stand apart from the Whedon ones indefinitely. I like the Whedon ones for different reasons, but these ones feel more raw and gritty when you watch like Endgame and especially like the endings of both of them. They're like, whoa, like add the emotion to the movies and shit, where you don't really get that with Whedon, you know.
No. You've also got is it John Favreau in these? Is it the film director? Writer. He's pretty much.
Favreau did first Iron Man, second Iron Man, I think. Yeah, Shane Black did the third Iron Man.
Yeah.
And now he's making that Mandalorian money. So
it's almost like, because I know he did Cowboys and Aliens, which I don't think it did very well, did it, at the cinema? I think it almost flopped.
But I enjoy it though, man. I enjoy the hell out of that movie.
Yeah.
It's
great.
Yeah, big money sci-fi films don't make money, unfortunately, and that's one of those casualties of that.
He did that Jungle Book remake too. And
don't make Gary cry now, Derek. It's bad news. You know?
He also made Elf as well, didn't he?
He did do Elf.
He did Elf, so he's made a Christmas movie, and he's hit the Mandalorian, and he's coming to Marvel. So it's almost like he's got that sort of minus touch at the moment, isn't it? You know, wherever he does, just seems to be able to turn it into gold. You know.
Personal hero of mine. He portrayed the role of Gutter in PCU.
Right.
Which, if you haven't seen that movie, that's the Jeremy Piven Animal House ripoff from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Gutter is his burnout friend, played by Jon Favreau. And it's magical when him and George Clinton hit the stage, is all I'll say, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got Frank Grillo in this movie as well. And he's one of those guys that I just think that every time I see him on screen, I always think of the Punisher. I just think that he's an actor, I think, that should be playing the Punisher. He just looks like this, you know, like he'd just fit that role.
Well, the next time we see him in one of these movies, he does have a crossbone skull on his chest.
This is true. It's true.
Yeah, I guess so, in a different sort of way, isn't it? Yeah, just different. And Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson Falcon. I just think he's probably the most badass sidekick you're going to get.
I always liked him since I seen The Hurt Locker. That was like the first movie I ever seen him in. Maybe like 8 Mile too, but I remember him more from his role in The Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Yeah, no, he's apparently he bulked up for this role, and he actually thought that he was going to be wearing the Falcon 1970s style spandex.
Oh, the one, the orange and white onesie.
Yeah.
Go for it, Anthony Mackie. You know,
honestly, that was what he thought he was going for, and he was a little bit disappointed that he wasn't. But then, you know, with the outfit that he's got, I think it works really well. And like I say, I think he's just total badass.
Yeah, they couldn't go for that old school Falcon because they have a habit of these films, and it really works. Taking these minor characters who didn't do a whole lot, like Falcon, and making them into something bigger. And I had to go back in the Wayback Machine to read some old Avengers and Captain America comics to see if I'm wrong. But Falcon wasn't that big of a character, I don't think. But they all have had their churn. I mean, it's all open to.
He gets bigger as the series goes on, like in the comics, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we know what happens when. Well, it actually happens at the end of Endgame too. But yeah,
I mean, like before that, like when he first was a thing, like in the 70s.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but yeah, he's much bigger now and well deserved. They're really good at making these characters more fleshed out. And Falcon needed some love, not just as a joke on Robot Chicken.
Oh, the Falcon.
Oh man. So, having a look at this film then, so it's basically like an old school espionage thriller. It's very different from the other Marvel movies. As I said earlier, I think it's like a standalone movie. Like I say, it's got all the wit, it's very fast paced, it's got some great action scenes in it. And the film starts off 2 years after the Battle of New York. And you've now got Captain America who's thawed from the ice. He's living in a modern day world. He's not really fighting any sort of, like I say, Nazis as he was, in the first movie. And it's like he's in the modern day world. He doesn't know who the enemy is really, and this is where the film gets a little bit political with S.H.I.E.L.D., where you find out in the movie that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over secretly by Hydra. And I think this kind of builds up for the next Captain America movie, Civil War, where this kind of justifies these actions for, reason why I don't really want to sort of trust the government because of the corruption and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of builds that up. But it's just good to see Captain America. He's just sort of like I say, a standalone character, and you just got this character development in this movie with the other characters that he works alongside with, including Black Widow.
It's great. First time I ever saw this, I was just blown away because I'm a huge fan of 3 Days of the Congo, and you could tell, even the Russo said that this was like a love letter to that type of film.
Yeah.
And you could really see that because they cast the star of that movie in this movie.
Well, yeah, pretty obvious, right?
Yeah. So that makes it even like, it shows like their love of spy movies in general, and I love that. Every time everyone like talks shit about Marvel, I'm like, watch The Winter Soldier, because a lot of people only watched through like Iron Man 2 and stopped, and no one's watched how they build from after that first phase.
Yeah.
And when you watch Winter Soldier, it's like, wow, it's like a standalone spy action movie. It's great. I love it.
I mean, it was either Redford or Warren Beatty, which, if you haven't seen the Parallax View, or Jay, you need to check that out, because, apparently images of Thor flashing on the screen will turn you into a government assassin, and yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, Robert Redford in this movie, I mean, I think it's the first time he's actually portrayed a bad guy, isn't it? As a bad character, because he's usually the good guy, isn't he?
I've seen him play dicks before, but this is like really, really big dick.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, this is him. Heavyweight dick. He's also played in other films like this. Like you say, was it all the President's Men or the Watergate scandal? Was it?
Yeah, all the President's Men.
So it's almost like he just feels like the right sort of actor to be in this role as well. And I thought he played it really well.
Yeah, Spy Game too. He's been in tons of these types of movies. It's fucking nuts, when you think about it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Spy Game. That's the other good one to sort of mention as a sort of building block, isn't it, for him?
Yeah.
So you get a nice scene here as well at the beginning of the movie where you got Steve Rogers and he's running around Washington DC, and then you introduce straight away to Sam Wilson, who becomes the Falcon, and Falcon's trying to help Steve Rogers sort of adapt to modern day life. And then it ties over to a strike team trying to free some hostages on board a shield ship. So you introduced some pirates, and this kind of reminded me, if you guys ever played the game Solid Snake?
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid. Yeah. It just kind of almost sort of shadowed that a little bit, you know, with where they're sort of infiltrating a ship and you've got pirates.
Yeah, stealth. Very stealthy.
Yeah, very stealthy. I think there's a little bit of wit between Black Widow and Cat with him, you know, sort of relationships and women and all that sort of stuff. So just sort of bringing in a bit of humour there with that.
Yeah, like even later in the movie, they keeps going on with that, and I get back up like in the middle of interrogation. And it's like, how about the one with the lips? I forget the name of the actual girl, but I was cracking up.
Although the shield, the Cap's trademark shield, the vibranium, the noise is not very covert at all. I'll just throw it out there. Him chucking that shield about a metal ship.
Yeah.
So you're introduced to a sort of bad guy here. Now I think is this the guy who plays the actor? Is he like a wrestler or something like that in real life?
I actually didn't look it up, but he did look familiar.
So you kind of get, like I say, you get a fight scene here, don't you, where he's sort of like taking on Captain America. And then whilst all this is going on, you've got like the Black Widow, who is obtaining data from the ship about the helicarriers. So this is your first step into the story of this movie, where they're trying to rescue the hostages, but then they're also trying to get some data. So you're first introduced to there being something going on within S.H.I.E.L.D.
Fury goes and ends up trying to investigate it later with Pierce.
Yeah, that's it. So you get, like say, Nick Fury, doesn't he? He goes to Pierce and he basically sort of outs him almost, doesn't he? And then obviously Pierce, then this is where you get that scene where Fury's driving down the road and it gets taken out by all the cop cars and you get some explosions.
It's such a great baller move because the whole time, of course, it's like some kind of shield heavy, smart car that's telling him window integrity 20% because they attach his battering ram to the ground. And he's waiting until it says 1%. He got that console machine gun just popping up. It's like, what a fucking baller he is, man. Just waiting for the motherfuckers.
And you know what that machine gun says? Bad motherfucker. No, I'm just
I bet it does.
Yeah, just waiting for that. Yeah. I was going to say, I did think that as well, with the, like, say, the 1% on the glass. What sort of glass is that made out of? Do you know what I mean? To obtain that. So you get Nick Fury taken out. Captain America then finds out that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been compromised. You get a scene where Nick Fury hands him a data drive or something like that with the information on it. And then you get this a meeting with Pierce where Captain America is asked about this data drive. Captain America withholds it, and then Pierce basically treats him as a fugitive. And then this is where the film sort of kick-starts a little bit here. And it was that scene you said, Derek. Ultimately, for me, this scene gets brought up a lot when I talk about Marvel Universe, is the lift scene, where Captain America goes in and he just comes out and says, anybody want to get out now? Because it's almost like he knows that he's been through so much, like with World War II and everything like that, that he just knows what's going to happen.
And all I gotta say about this is I want a pair of magnet handcuffs for pleasure.
Oh man, yeah. Shop smart, shop S smart.
Got that?
You got that? Oh man. So you get this awesome fight scene now in the lift, which is, like I say, one of my favourite scenes in Marvel. Captain's taken out all these guys. He managed to get out of the lift, and then he jumps onto his Harley Davidson. And like I say, he goes from one badass scene to another, isn't it? Where he's on the motorbike.
Yeah, he's now Steve McQueen.
Yeah, and then this is where you get one of those. Was it Hellcarrier craft come down, try to shoot him out?
Yep.
So, effectively now, when I first watched this movie, I don't know about you guys, but I was almost like, what the fuck? You know, S.H.I.E.L.D., which is,
before this happens, he beats the shit out of all these guys in this lift, which is a very close quarters area anyway. And it's some of the best, hand-to-hand stuff I've ever seen on film. And then he takes the shield and jumps out of the elevator, probably a good 20 stories down at least, just to land on it.
Yeah.
Friggin' badass, man.
And then he just, during that whole helicarrier scene where he's, driving the motorcycle, he just jumps off the fucking motorcycle onto the helicarrier. Yeah. And it's like a video game scene where, you take out the propellers with the fucking shield and then jump off while it crashes. It's fucking great.
He's like, hey, I got a piece of metal. I'll destroy your flying thing that's going to destroy me with the turrets and stuff. And he just chops at it until it crashes to the ground. It's phenomenal. That's all I'll say about that one.
Well, it's funny you brought up the S.H.I.E.L.D. because it's almost like the S.H.I.E.L.D. gets just as much screen time as Captain America in this movie. And it's almost like another character, effectively, isn't it?
Well, it's as iconic as him, because I don't know if you ever watched the what somebody call crappy, 60s Captain America cartoon series. It's Captain America and his mighty shield. It's as iconic as he is.
Yeah, for sure. And it actually plays well with later on with metal versus metal, because the Winter Soldier has this metallic arm, and once you hear the arm punch into the shield, it's boom, it finally met its match. It's crazy when that scene happens later, but we'll get into it when we get into it.
Yeah, so Captain America is now hunted by the S.H.I.E.L.D. strike team, and he's trying to try and work out what's going on. This week, he goes to New Jersey, where there's a hidden S.H.I.E.L.D. bunker, and you've got this supercomputer, which is
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Toby Jones, Derek. Yeah, because he tends to turn up in a lot of stuff, doesn't he?
Oh, I love Toby Jones. He's one of my favorite character actors, and I loved him in the first Captain America. I was actually kind of shocked the first time I saw this. I'm like, he's a computer? What the fuck?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned. I think Gary mentioned. Was it the Rocketeer? Well, you did, Derek. And this scene right here just reminds me of a very sort of 1940s sort of steampunk, do you know what I mean? It's just got that sort of aesthetic to it, where you've got a mad scientist in a computer. It's almost sort of steampunk.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Ghost in the Shell, kind of, to that aesthetic, even with the graphics of the computers and Ghost in the Shell.
Or what's that other movie that sort of flopped as well? Was it Sky Captain? Part of the future?
Yeah, Sky Captain.
Yeah,
it's a gorgeous film. And yeah.
That should have done a lot.
Another one of those niche films that cost a lot of money to make that didn't make any money.
It's a shame it didn't make any money, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because I enjoyed that film. I
actually liked it too. It's crazy.
But it kind of reminded me of that scene. So you find out now that Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. since World War II. It's been there all along, and it gives you the plot of the movie now, whereas Hydra's are basically what they want to do is they want to sort of get humanity to surrender its freedom for security, and the way they're going to do this is situate all the helicarriers around the globe and then target anybody who's a threat towards Hydra, which you find, which goes on to the story later on. But then this bunker then gets taken out by a missile. So it blows up, and then you get a scene here where Captain America sort of takes on all the rubble with his shield. He manages to rescue the Black Widow, and they somehow manage to get out after that, which sort of goes into a bit of a cutscene.
Well, in the events of the last year or so, year or two, not as extreme as to take out any threat, but I don't think most Americans should be trusted to tie their shoes at this point. So, go Hydra and hail it, baby. To a certain degree,
Yeah. So, yeah, you get them escape from the bunker. So you now got Black Widow and the Captain America that teamed up. Don't know who to trust. So they go back to Sam Wilson, who we met at the beginning of the movie, and it turns out that Sam was involved in an operation where he was part of a sort of parachute regiment or rescue operations, and this is where he's got that badass Falcon suit, which they managed to get hold of, and introduces the new character now, which is the Falcon. But not the spandex suit which he was hoping for, so as we said, which would have been cool. I know we've already covered that. Would have been cool.
Yeah, this version of it goes really with the steampunk, because it looks like something you've seen out like a steampunk movie, like this suit that he has.
Yeah.
Even the goggles look steampunk,
Yeah, that's it. I remember when I first watched this, and I was just like, wow, this is a real treat. Do you know what I mean? To be introduced to this badass character, and it just really works well as a sidekick to Captain America as well.
Sure. Then they end up, let's see, like, speaking of Gary, mentioned him earlier, Gary Shandling, Hail Hydra.
Yeah,
that little scene comes after. Yeah. They just kidnap that dude and torture him on the roof.
Oh, yeah. It's hilarious. There's so many little things in this movie that thing where they're torturing him basically by dropping him and picking him up.
Oh yeah. Is that the Shield agent? Isn't it Jasper Sitwell? Isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. He kind of goes Crocodile Dundee 2 on him, doesn't he? On this one, do you know what I mean? He's sort of got him hanging from the top of a roof.
He's like, that's not your style, Cap. I know it's not. It's hers, though.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
In America, we call that the Suge Knight. Ask Vanilla Ice what really happened on that hotel roof. Okay?
Oh right.
Okay.
He gets frozen in time as well, doesn't he? Vanilla Ice. Was it Austin Powers?
Yeah.
Any guys remember that?
Yeah. Then he goes, hangs out with Adam Sandler, and that's my boy.
Oh, I love that movie way too much.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Oh man. So he's interrogated Jasper Sitwell, and then you got the Winter Soldier who now turns up. And I thought I like the Winter Soldier character, but for a film that's titled The Winter Soldier, I didn't really think he had an awful lot of screen time.
They build up to him. It's kind of like he's in the background, because we do get to see him like during that like whole Nick Fury thing. That's the first glimpse of him. Because he's like, Nick Fury's like, I got away, and then bam, Winter Soldier comes out of nowhere and blows up the Jeep. But then, you get little hints of him, and I do like that they don't get to show they reveal his face till that epic fight scene later on, where you don't get to really see him at all at many moments. Like, there's that great scene where he's in Robert Redford's house, and this is when it's revealed like Robert Redford's part of this too. His housemaid, like, all right, you can leave now, Rena. And he starts to talk about the mission. Then the housemaid comes, I forgot my phone. Oh, I wish you'd knocked. And then it blasts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that shirt is cold-blooded, man.
It's great. And, I kind of like it. I can see why it's not good if you want to see more of him. But for, like, this type of movie, I kind of like the build up to it. Especially when they reveal who it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it was necessary. Because they're fighting, and the face mask is taken off It was funny. It slapped off him basically, and you needed that build up to the reveal of that's what it is. I mean, just like you get a screenshot, when Zola's giving his talking exposition about the Winter Soldier being involved in the Stark's assassination. Well, accident. You find out that builds up really well in Civil War, where Cap's got to make a choice whether to choose his friend or choose, his alliance with Tony. And it was that build up was necessary, and when it hits, it really hits and it really pops. So, yeah, it was totally necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we get more of him in this next movie anyway, so it's a good build-up movie.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. With this film, really does. If you haven't seen Winter Soldier, you might not understand Civil War as well. So this kind of builds up for almost like Captain America's justification for saying there's no way I'm going to get sanctioned by the government because I know that they're corrupt. I've dealt with this before. But yeah, it's. So you find out now that Winter Soldier is Bucky Barnes. He's been programmed by Hydra to act like a sort of mini nuke, isn't it? As soon as they mention some text, he's just gone into sort of Winter Soldier mode. He'll go out and do assassinations, and but then when it's stuff that you find out that he's unaware of, he almost gets hypnotised or something like that. So yeah, we get a fight scene here. And like I say, the action in this movie when it gets rolling is incredible. And I really like the sounds of this film as well. Do you know what I mean? When you hear the sort of cars crunching, you get some really good sounds in there as well. And you also find out now that Nick Fury is alive, and he's kind of playing on the fact that he's dead just to sort of cover that up through Hydra. And you find out now about the what they need to do to be able to stop the Hell Carriers from going out and killing anybody who's going to be a target to Hydra. And they've got to replace some chips in the carriers in order to try and stop this.
It's actually very believable, like it's a great, like usually in like these movies you get like these fucking crazy fucking assumption fucking things that would stop somebody, but this one's a little bit more believable because it's technology based.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What they're doing is, like I say, plausible. Well, it's plausible, isn't it?
Exactly. It's not like some crazy fucking out of nowhere. Like it's not like a time. Like they kind of get kind of crazy with Endgame with time heist.
Yeah. What else are we gonna do?
A little bit more grounded. In that sense.
That's the other thing with the franchise, Derek, isn't it? They had to bring time travel into it eventually.
But we wouldn't have that great scene where they talk about all the time travel movies.
Well, Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, chuck that one in there. Oh man. So you get Captain Rogers now, or Captain America, goes to the back to the S.H.I.E.L.D. complex, and he basically does an announcement to say that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra. And you get the Black Widow, who disguises herself as a Jenny Agutter character, doesn't she? Which is a bit of a surprise. And
yeah, that was kind of shocking the first time I seen it. Like, wait, because you're like, Jenny Atticus is kicking all these guys' asses? What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, this is it. That's the thing, isn't it? You throw it in, and I remember watching this the other day for the show. I was like, is that Jenny Agutter kicking some ass? But obviously it's Black Widow in disguise.
Ethan Hunt's got nothing on her, baby, with face pulling, okay?
So then you now get Nick Fury that arrives as well. And he kills...
He arrives in style, too.
Yeah, this is it, yeah. He kills Pierce, so he gets taken out. And you've now got Captain America and Sam now having to take out the carriers. which is another epic action scene here, where Falcon gets to sort of test his wings out for the first time.
Yeah, he's just flying around, you know, like, I love his guns that just pop out of his hands and shit, and like, when he's flying in the air, it's fucking great, you know. Later on, he's like, you know, hanging off the ledge, and he's getting chased by like this fucking helicarrier fucking ship and getting rocket shot at him. You know, I'm going another direction. Coming, Cap, you know.
Yeah, that's good. I say I love the screen time with him in it, and I was gutted when he gets his wings clipped, and he can't. He says, I've had my wings clipped, Cap," and I was like, "Oh no!" I was thinking I want more Falcon action, you know, because like I say, it's just great. I could almost see him do his own sort of standalone movie as well. I think he's that strong a character.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we do get like a great scene where he fights Frank Grillo later.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Frank Grillo comes back in, doesn't he?
Show's coming eventually, the Falcon Winter Soldier show for Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. I think was that been put on hold because of 2020?
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, that got delayed, but I know WandaVision is coming, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, anything with Scarlet Witch, man.
Oh yeah, this is it. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Man, I love Paul Bettany in many things, but he got the vision laid down, man. I love it.
Yeah, he tends to get all the ladies, doesn't he, Paul Bettany? I mean, he's married to Jennifer Connelly, isn't he, in real life?
It all comes back to Jennifer Connelly.
I was going to say, yeah. We
Awkward Boners with Ricky Morgan coming soon.
Awkward Boner podcast. Oh man, that's going to stick. That's going to stick. Yeah, so Sam's wings been clipped, so you're left with Cap. He's on the edge of the seat whether he's going to get his chips taken care of. Then you get like a sort of final showdown here, don't you, between him and the Winter Soldier. And basically Caps is now getting his ass kicked, isn't he?
Oh, he's getting beat the shit out of, you know, later on, like, you know, he's getting pummeled. You know, it's great. He even gets shot. Captain America gets shot in certain parts, and he's like bleeding from the gut and shit. It's like fucking nuts. Because, excuse my language for the listeners who don't like the F-bomb, but that's where I grew up, you know. Yeah. But I gotta give props to Chris Evans too in this movie, because he's a hometown boy.
All right.
Born and raised in Mass, and he's great in this movie, and he shows that. And the scenes with him and the Winter Soldier are fantastic. I love like the build up to the fight too, where it's like, "Don't make me do this, man." Yeah, and he just goes out of the town and just starts fighting him. And he gets stabbed and like certain. It's gritty and great. You never see like Captain America get hurt in like the previous movies, so that's why I like this aspect of it. You see him actually bleed and stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's a very, like I say, very gritty, isn't it? And I think that's for the whole movie, isn't it? It's a real different take for the Marvel universe, isn't it? They really sort of roughed it up a bit.
Yeah, that's why like later on when you get to like the end of Endgame, where he's gonna just go against this whole army with like one shield. I'm like, with a broken shield. I'm like, I would follow that dude. Yeah, I would follow that dude in battle.
I'm definitely Team Cap, that's for sure. Yeah. So it's almost like he knows he's got to go for all this to try and this is how honourable he is, isn't it? He's doing all this to try and get his friend back, and he knows his friend is kicking the shit out of him, but he's letting it all out of himself. And then he comes out with a little line here, isn't it? He goes, "How much are you going to take?" or something like that, and then Captain America comes out and says, "I'm with you till the end of the line," and that's what ultimately jogs now Bucky Barnes' memory, isn't it? Just sort of has a little bit of realisation.
Yeah, I like that scene too. Like, there's a scene like later on where it goes back to like, I think actually Captain America's mom just passed away, and
yeah,
you know, it's a very sad and somber scene where you see Bucky treating him like a brother, and he's like, "You just come live with me and stuff, because we're here till the end."
Into the line, that's it, yeah. So yeah, that's a pretty good scene there. I like the way the way they've tied that in. So the captain doesn't really ultimately doesn't really win this fight, does he? But he does win the battle where he takes down this final hell carrier, which crashes into the lake. And this is where you get Bucky rescues him, doesn't he? Takes him out of the lake, and then he kind of just disappears into the woods. Now it sort of comes to the sort of final scene of the movie where S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been totally wiped out.
S.H.I.E.L.D.'s gone.
So, you're thinking, what the... when I first watched it, I was like, what the hell? This S.H.I.E.L.D., that's it, gone, boom. And it's almost like everything has just been torn apart. And our heroes now sort of been left to sort of try and find Bucky Barnes. And Fury goes off to Europe to see if he can find any more Hydra cells. And that's pretty much it, isn't it, really? It's left on... It's almost like a sort of... like the Empire Strikes Back in the franchise, isn't it? Where everything's just gone to shit.
Yeah, we gotta go through like another bad Thor movie, Iron Man 3, to get to the Civil War.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. And then, like I say, it goes into Civil War. And then
I think they show actually a cutscene too at the end of this for like a hint of Age of Ultron. I think that's
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah, and you also get you get two cutscenes here. So you get that scene, and then you get the Bucky Barnes going to the memorial and seeing his own memorial. So they kind of just hint on that. So
starting to remember things, and, it leads to more things with them. And I love all they handled everything perfectly. This is what keeps you coming back to it. The whole Manchurian Candidate, 3 Days of the Condor thing. It's just wild, and I love good hand-to-hand combat. And this has some shooting, of course, in it, but the fight scenes are the best in any Marvel film, as far as like that kind of fighting goes. And I'm an 80s guy karate kid. I can't help these things. I can't help these feelings, and I love to watch it. And this is as finely choreographed as you can get. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah,
it's fucking great, and I always love this. I like going back to this one from time to time. Like Gary said, I'm a huge Thor Ragnarok guy, and Winter Soldier is probably one of my favorites too. It's hard. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but Winter Soldier that's a standard standalone Marvel movie.
Yeah,
it's one I go back to all the time, and this is where I feel like the MCU really picked up and started to move forward, especially with the Russos on board.
Yeah,
because they gave him a bunch more. They gave him the last Avengers movies, because of the movies they made, and these are the guys who did You, Me, and Dupree, so it's like kind of shocking in that sense, because that was the only other movie I knew them from before this. I'm like, the guys who directed that Owen Wilson movie did this, really?
Yeah. And then they got their big break with this film, where they had studio gave them $200 million to go and make this film, like I say, on the back of You, Me, and Dupree, and the film made $700 million at the box office. Just went boom. And then they've gone on to make some of the most successful Marvel movies, including, I think it was Infinity War and Endgame. And I think in total they made about $2.8 billion for Marvel. So that's some good going.
It is, I think they really got like those last two Avengers movies, because they're like, maybe let's do Civil War, because it mixes a few different like characters from the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
In it too. So let's give it to them as a practice movie to see what they can do. And they're like, oh wow, this is fucking great. So that's how they got those last two Marvel Avengers movies too.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say.
It's not the biggest churn I've ever seen for comedy people to go. And I'm not even talking about Halloween 2018, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But look at the Farrelly brothers. These are the guys that made There's Something About Mary and Kingpin and really silly stuff that I love. And what are they making now? Political dramas. You know.
Green Book, The Big Short. You know, really critically acclaimed stuff. And for you to go make that churn, which I don't hate you, me, and Dupree. I think it's fun, but it's not this movie, obviously. For them to go from that to this, that transition, in a pretty fast time. I mean, the Farrellys made like 6 or 7 comedy films before they went that way. It just let's try this. And I think a lot of I don't know the Russo's opinions on these characters before making this movie, but you can tell a lot of love and care went into, you know, the curating of these characters and making them amazing and making you feel for them, and it showed in every scene with Bucky and Steve, especially that last fight scene where he really didn't want to hurt his friend.
Yeah.
But he knew he had to hurt his friend, or his friend was gonna kill him. Obviously, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Just that extra care. It's love for the characters, and I know a lot of this is where DC gets it wrong in their live action movies. DC animated, out of this world, because they have people writing those things that give a shit about the source material, and that's the key. That's what made those 90s cartoons so great. They gave a shit about the source material. But we need more of that, and I think the Russos knocked it out of the park with this one.
Yeah, the thing with DC that what they did wrong was they tried to jam so much, and they tried to make like an origin movie for like all the characters in one Justice League movie, which is where you had like, even though like I say like the first phase was lesser, you still get to know all the characters before that first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
So you get to know their personalities and stuff. And this one, you're like introduced to Cyborg like fucking 10 minutes in the movie. Like, who the fuck is this dude and why should I care? You know, the Flash too. Like, there was no Flash movie at that point. He just comes into the movie, and I'm kind of like, after Justice League, I think DC's kind of doing all right. I like a lot of the movies better now because they're like, let's just do whatever the fuck we want now. Who gives a fuck about canon? Let's do Elseworld stories. Who cares? Like Joker. Let's do shit like that, you know? Like,
I was only going to say, DC tends to work with, as an independent movie, like you said, with the Joker, with Joaquin Phoenix, and a film I just reviewed, which was, as you guys know, the 1989 Batman with Tim Burton, which I think is a great movie, as we covered on the last show. So DC tends to do well kind of independently here and there when it comes out.
Still hits all the spots, man, because without that 89 Batman film, before that, it was a joke to say, we're going to make a superhero film.
Yeah.
You know, that was the benchmark to say, hey, this made money, so let's make more of these.
And you know what? I'm kind of excited for that new Batman movie. I do not give a fuck. Like, they didn't go with Ben Affleck. You know, like Ben Affleck's a hometown boy too, but I'm kind of excited to see it. It looks like Batman mixed with Seven, and you know that's kind of awesome. It's doing something different. You know.
Pattinson as an actor is really great. People are like, oh, they only see him as that Edward from Twilight. You need to look beyond that because he's been in some wonderful stuff and he's been great in. And
The Lighthouse, wasn't it? He was in. So you know, a lot of people were unsure of Michael Keaton when that came out in 1989. So if a film has low expectations, sometimes that can be a good sign instead of being hyped up. I think.
Yeah, it can't be as bad as George Clooney, right?
Yes. You know what? I'll say this about Batman and Robin. I've come to enjoy the camp of it. It's still a turd sandwich, but if you watch it in the realm of your brain that you're in the 66 Batman, but in with new effects, you'll enjoy it a lot more. It's still garbage.
Was it?
Yeah, but
was that a Joel Schumacher movie?
Bat nipples in effect, man. You know.
I said to Dan Bone, I said I'm a little bit of an apologist for Joel Schumacher because he made The Lost Boys. So
He's made some great movies. Falling Down.
You've seen The Lost Boys, but have you seen DC Cab? That's the benchmark Joel Schumacher film, I think, to me. You know?
I even like that movie he made, Blood Creek, and people don't really talk about that movie. Like, not vampire Nazi movie with Michael Fassbender as an immortal Nazi that drinks blood. Like, come on, that's great.
Wow, I've not heard of that movie. It sounds great.
It's kind of like direct-to-video. It's got like that dude from Dominic Purcell in it, and Shea Wiggum's in it too. He's like a side character. It's cool. It's like all takes place on like this farmhouse, and you have to really watch it to get what the way I'm describing it makes it sound even worse. But it's a very interesting movie because it's like this Nazi goes to this farmhouse, and it's like years later, and this dude tries to go find his brother. And, his brother actually comes back to him. He's missing. They had like a funeral for him. And he comes at him one night. I need you to come with me. And these people held me here for years. And they find out that this house is like, these people are like stuck in time, and this immortal Nazi is keeping them alive to harvest them blood.
Jeez.
Because he survives off blood. It's nuts. It's Michael Fassbender as the immortal vampire Nazi.
And I'm telling you though, Marvel keeps doing stuff to excite me, and that's not really. It's hard to do sometimes. Like Captain Marvel as a film was kind of a turd to me. It was there, and it just wasn't all that great to me. But they just announced today that Rogue is going to be, like Rogue from the X-Men, is going to be the villain in the next one.
Right.
These things excite me, So
really?
I'm going to watch that movie for sure. Yes.
Is that for the next?
I might watch that too.
Is that for the next Captain Marvel movie? Is it Rogue?
For the next Captain Marvel film, because they own the right to the X-Men now, and they own the right to Fantastic Four now, so they can filter those characters, where they want.
Okay, right, I see. Because the only tie-in for the X-Men, I thought, was the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, wasn't it, into these movies, I thought?
Yeah, and they had to change their characters, kind of, for these movies.
Did they?
Because they couldn't, say that, they were
Son and
Magneto's
daughter,
kids.
Magneto, and that or something.
Well, they could do that now, and I'm waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
For Magneto to show up, and if you guys don't know, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are Magneto's children, and that's a thing in the comics and on the cartoon series, and not a thing in these movies because Fox owned X-Men. But now they can go into those storylines, and I'm looking forward to it.
A little spoiler for Age of Ultron, but I was gutted when Quicksilver got killed. Because I thought it was cool, and I just thought I'd just keep this guy going.
They gave him an arc, and it was an arc that ended in death, unfortunately. But
yeah.
I kind of like it because it builds on the relationship with Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch too, in that sense where especially when it's building the Civil War,
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you do need that, but I still gutted. I thought it was cool. I'd like to have seen a bit more screen time with him.
Yeah, it's like when you see that's what I hated about some of the older Spider-Man movies when they kill the villains right away. That's kind of why I like that they kept the Vulture alive because he could come back,
But you mentioning the Vulture, I'm a big fan of him as a villain. I actually think he's more of an anti-hero. Because he's basically fucked over at the beginning of the movie, isn't he? And he's like, I'm going to take something back. So,
one thing I forgot to mention before we talk about the 89 Batman is that I can see people's distinction. I've heard the argument, about the roles he played before that. But yeah, he'll always be Mr. Mom to me in most aspects. Because I've seen Mr. Mom on cable so many times.
Yeah.
I want my Wubby right now, man. I want it right now, But it's I've seen that more than Beetlejuice. More than Beetlejuice, I'd say. I've seen Mr. Mom. So
Michael Keaton's a gem. The other guys when he's just fucking.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
When he's just just giving them clues through he just does TLC references. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
If you haven't seen this, RJ, he plays their police captain in the movie to Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. And there is a scene, because he works at Bed Bath & Beyond as well.
Yeah.
So he's given the speech to the Bed Bath & Beyond workers. He forgets what job he's at. So he starts talking about like murders, like up in Uptown, and all of a sudden he remembers she's at Bed Bath and Beyond. It is, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I can see.
So good.
I can see Michael Keaton. But yeah, I haven't seen that film, but yeah, I can totally see that with him.
Oh, he's great. And like, there's a scene where I think it's like the mayor or somebody, or like somebody comes into the office. And he's like, "How's your family?" "Good, good. My son's homosexual, but good, good." That's all I know.
Oh man. Oh, brilliant.
You get 10 minutes of Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock in that movie, and it is one of the greatest 10 minutes of cinema that you'll ever watch.
Oh,
even like the last minute of it, it's like, "There goes my hero."
Oh. No, fantastic, guys. So, so there you go. That is the Winter Soldier. So, it's safe to say I think we are all on board for that movie, guys. Being here today for that, the movie totally rocks.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, if you stopped watching Marvel movies after like maybe like Thor, or like even though I kind of like the first Thor, it's grown on me. Like Iron Man 2's kind of like where a lot of people stopped for some weird reason, which I can see why in some senses, in some aspects of the movie, but MCU just got better after like Phase 1 was over, and Winter Soldier is like one of the standout additions. I say you definitely got to see the first Avengers, because they do talk about certain aspects of like the New York shit that happened at the end of the Avengers one. So you still got to see that, but after that, I say check out Winter Soldier. It's a good follow-up,
Yeah. And the other one I quite like is Ant-Man. I quite like that as well. I thought...
it's a great movie. It's kind of like a heist movie.
Yeah, and... It just brought...
I went into Ant-Man with no expectations, but I love it. It's wonderful.
I watched that film and I just thought if there was going to be a character that I was going to be like, it'd probably be Scott Lang. Because he's just... he's just so down to earth, and it's a little bit deadbeat in some place, or deadpan in some places. Just things don't work out for him, and I kind of like that. He's suffering the everyday problems that we all do, and he's still trying to be a superhero.
Oh, we gotta do that. So one day we gotta do those Ant-Man movies.
Yeah, just great. Just again, another great addition to the universe, just to give it that little bit more spice or whatever. So yeah, it's great, man. All right, guys. Well, listen. Thanks for coming on to the show today. Do you want to tell us about what you're doing? What's Gary? What are you doing next? You got anything planned? Cinema beef?
Got a Cinema Beef recorded, and a Burning for Springwood recorded that I have to edit. Those should be out. Well, RJ turns these around like super fast, so sometime after this comes out, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
if I will edit till tomorrow.
Right.
But yeah, that should be coming out soon. And then for Thanksgiving Day, we record this on Tuesday night, just in time for American Turkey Day. Myself and whoever shows up from the crew, I'm pretty sure it's at least gonna be Jamie and Suzanne and Iris for sure. So probably all of us are going to do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre commentary for you guys for a Two Drink Venom commentaries.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to try to do one of those a month with the four of us.
Yeah.
Just to mix it up a little bit. My plan for that show is to do one with us, and then one with whoever wants to come on.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a fun twice a month thing. And that Texas Chainsaw for November. And I think Anna and the Apocalypse for December.
Right. Which
is very fun.
I love that movie.
It's so good. So good. Yeah, besides that, NFW commentaries on the Dark Discussions Network.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else you could find me on would be on the Legion podcast network, which I almost forgot right now. I'm sorry, boss. Sorry, Bo.
Sorry, Bo. Well, Gary, we've done well not to offend anybody so far in this episode, mate. It's not doing now, eh?
Oh, it's not over yet, though, man. Come on now.
Should we just, throw Court Sarts into the conversation somewhere, do you know what I mean? Or should we just leave that out of it this episode?
He is still an overachiever. I'll say it all day long, but it's I love that guy to death. He knows this.
Oh, man. It's always good to shout Court out on the show. He is picking up on that as well. And Derek, what you got coming up next, mate?
The usual. Actually, a few of my shows are on hiatus, unfortunately. My Legion show, Underwater Kaiju, is on hiatus because of personal things. The main host of that show. But one day it might come back. But, you know, I have a few other shows on the Dark Discussions Network that you guys should check out. If you haven't, of course, Cinema Attack, which I think, I'm not sure if it's out yet. It's either today or maybe, I don't know. I don't know when they get released over there sometimes. But we just did a top 15 90s action movie list. Where we run down our top 15, which, you know, it was going to originally be a top 10, but I'm like, Jesus Christ, there's so many good fucking movies. So I'm like, let's get them going, you know.
Did Pastor 57 make anybody's list, everybody, you know?
I don't remember. I know it was on my like runner-up list. I really liked it.
It's like it's a very efficient less than 80 minutes. I'll say that.
Yeah, you know, some of the movies I made the list, you'd be like, whoa, you know. But everyone has their own taste. But that's why I like doing those types of shows. But that came out, and then, you know, they're here. Plan our next episode soon. You know, it's actually thinking of a date, you know, and, you know, Lacey just came off doing like all those Halloween franchise shows for Cut to the Chase. So taking a little break, but, you know, definitely going to be planning out our next episode soon. And No More Room in Hell should be recording this Sunday, and that will be coming out sometime next week.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that'd be fucking great. We're actually doing two shows. We're actually doing a commentary, too, on a Thanksgiving-related horror film. So there's a few to choose from. So you might want to guess what it is. I won't say what it is, because that's going to be the surprise.
Okay.
But that's about it for me.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you, guys. Well, thanks for coming onto the show today. And after talking about Captain America Winter Soldier, the end result to that show is that we found another podcast for Ricky Morgan called Awkward Boner Podcast. So there you go. I never thought that'd be the result, yes. But that's where we got to.
Awkward Boners.
Awkward Boner.
You know what? It's not that much out of the realm of possibility, because, you know, that'd be a fun discussion.
Yeah.
Like, what's the first film that ever got you hot as a young man? And I think I've discussed this many times on my show, and there's the scene in Howard the Duck where Beverly crawls across the bed in her undies.
Right.
That's where Gary became a man. Okay. You know?
Yeah, Gary. Just say when you was on the Nightmare on Elm Street 3, mate, and you was in outer space and we lost communication. I was a little bit gutted when I couldn't get you on board for that little scene with the nurse. With the dude,
scene with the nurse, man, with the tongues and the breasts and the
animal.
Even Joey's got a shot at those breasts, but he couldn't until the end of the movie. So
yeah.
Even though you wasn't there, Gary, your animal spirit was there with us for that show.
Beautiful.
Right, okay, so don't worry about that, all right?
Is that like some Brave Star stuff, man? You know what Brave Star is?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's it. Okay, well, there we go. Awkward boner and breast. There we go. So we'll leave it at that. So, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. And a little bit of admin from myself. I'm a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. So please go and check out the other shows. Derek Bourgeois and Gary Hill's shows there, as I've mentioned. And you can find my show on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, several other players on the internet. If you type in Bitesize Cinema Podcast Legion, if you had to find the shows there. I will be back soon. I've got a couple of episodes lined up. I've got a solo episode of Outland with Sean Connery coming up. I've got The Mummy with a special guest, Kate Pollock, who's one of my listeners. She's coming on board for that. And Dan Bone and myself will be doing Planes, Trains and Automobiles, so look out for those episodes. So,
nice.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, great movie.
Dope.
I want my fucking car. So there you go, guys. Keep it bite size, keep it safe, and we'll see.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Ghost Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick 6 Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, 2 Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.